Please subscribe.
Proficiency-centered customers would do well to consider the 2020 Honda Insight half-and-half vehicle. The little vehicle from Honda returns not just more than 50 miles per gallon consolidated in many arrangements, as indicated by the EPA. It likewise figures out how to do it for under $24,000 in base structure and maybe, more significantly, without causing to notice itself. It has bounty to be glad about, be that as it may. The 2020 Insight wins a 6.8 on our general scale and is floated by awesome security scores and efficiency. With the Insight, Honda has a little half-breed passenger vehicle that is proficient with fuel and its inside space. 4 grown-ups effectively fit into the Insight's limits, with space for gear in the back, as well. Its looks aren't come-at-me hatchback, Prius, we see you, yet rather a classy advancement from the Accord fair-size vehicle. In the engine of the Insight is an inline-4 and crossbreed battery arrangement that is one of a kind among its rivals. The Insight's 1.5-liter inline-4 motor principally drives a generator that powers the half-and-half batteries and 129-strength electric engine that drives the front wheels. The motor and the driver's correct foot might be somewhat detached now in the game, however the Insight effectively troopers down a street at a for the most part loose and up pace with a peaceful ride. Its best execution number? Most Insights are evaluated at 52 miles per gallon consolidated by the EPA. 4 grown-ups fit best, however 5 will fit when absolutely necessary, with 15.1 cubic feet of load room in the storage compartment. The Insight's batteries don't eat into accessible inside space by any stretch of the imagination, and beside the relaxed speeding up, it's difficult to distinguish the Insight from a Civic. Like the Civic, the Insight has superlative well-being scores. Each Insight is a top safety pick plus by the IIHS, and the vehicle aced the government crash test routine with top scores in each subtest. Not many autos can say the equivalent. For under $24,000 to begin, the 2020 Insight LX is outfitted with 16-inch wheels, LED headlights, a 5.0-inch chauffeur sound, Bluetooth network, 1 USB charger, material duds inside, and dynamic well-being highlights. We see better an incentive in the Insight text that costs somewhat more than $25,000 and includes a 8.0-inch touchscreen for infotainment with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto similarity, 2 USB ports, dynamic path control, a split collapsing back seat, and an uprated radio with more speakers. Based on a Civic however with looks from the Accord, the 2020 Honda Insight draws motivation from 2 great sources. We give the Insight focuses better than expected for the inside and outside. It's a 7. The Insight just gets the Civic's wheelbase and roof line. What's left for the Insight is a perfect sheet upgrade that looks more like an Accord medium-size car. The Insight gets the Accord's nose and tail, with barely any wrinkles along the body sides that is a less bustling look than the Civic. The wheel curves are progressively effortless as well. The Insight likely looks better to 30-somethings not 20-year-olds. Inside, the Insight has a low run and a mellow style that is more classy than bombastic. It's not sluggishness either. The Insight's run gathers toward the center of the vehicle in an unpretentious signal that attracts eyes to the focal point of the lodge. Execution is relative in the 2020 Insight. The half-breed minimized car's superlatives are found in its efficiency figures, not 0 to 60 mph tests. Beginning from a normal score, we ring the chime for dreary quickening however give one back for the Insight's ride. It's a wash at 5. The Insight's inspiration originates from a 1.5-liter inline-4 that makes 107 horsepower and a 129-horsepower electric engine that make a 151 horsepower consolidated. That is not new math. The Insight's mixture speeding up is in a general sense not quite the same as numerous different half-and-halves out and about. Much of the time, the motor controls a generator that feeds the battery, which twists up the electric engine that drives the front wheels. The motor drives the front wheels in just a couple of circumstances, which is a procedure remarkable to Honda half-breeds. Honda considers the framework a two-engine crossover framework and it skirts the requirement for a customary transmission. It consigns the gas motor to generator obligation as a rule. The perceptible distinction for some drivers will be the disengagement between their correct feet and what's happening in the engine. Now and again, the motor could be angrily scrambling to control the generator at low speeds, or about quiet at high speeds. At any speed, the insight takes as much time as is needed to get generally puts. 0 to 60 miles per hour occurs in around 9 seconds, which is somewhat moderate. Climbing slopes or converging into traffic could take some propeller arrangement. The Insight is outfitted with EV, Sport, and Econ modes that typically sway execution, in spite of the fact that Sport mode feels strange here. In our testing, tipping the Insight into Sport made the throttle peppier and the motor fire up higher, also pipe in some superfluous motor sounds into the lodge, yet didn't make the vehicle any quicker. Exchanging over to Econ mode loosens up the throttle reaction, yet didn't appear to push the vehicle into all-electric mode anything else than ordinary. We've discovered that the Insight is best when worked without micromanaging. Fire the vehicle up and go. Honda presented a heavier than typical kickdown switch. Around 25% of the throttle is past a substantial detent that appeared to be clumsy, so a casual disposition is best with the Insight. Quickening aside, the Insight tempers fastidious streets with grievance suspension pieces and great tuning. Front swaggers and a back multi-connect swallow down terrible street conduct well. In spite of having an alternate name, the 2020 Insight is really a Honda Civic underneath. That is uplifting news for individuals and load, which both effectively fit inside the Insight's reduced casing. Beginning from a normal score, the minimal Honda wins focuses on our scale for good load limit at only a hair more than 15 cubic feet. It passes up different focuses in light of the fact that the Insight is productive like the remainder of the vehicle yet not extravagant. The Insight's seats are agreeable and steady, yet lower than we anticipated. The room in advance is useful for long bodies toward any path, 42.3 crawls of extra space and 39.3 creeps of headroom. Drivers should locate a wide scope of flexibility between the seats and extending guiding wheel. Long reach and short legs won't gripe, or the other way around. Behind the front seats is an agreeable three-man seat that we state is better for two. There's 37.4 crawls of accessible room to breathe, enough for 6-footers to sit behind other 6-footers. The seat bottoms are somewhat slim, yet there's great ear room and hip space for two major, wide American bodies. The Insight doesn't eat a lot into load space, contrasted with the Civic. There's 15.1 cubic feet of freight room under the cover, which extends when the back seats are collapsed down. We've seen, and got notification from users, about starting quality worries in early Insight cars, trim pieces not arranging, oddboard holes. Honda's ideally cleared that up, however the clamors that channel into the lodge aren't a variation. Some of the time the Insight can ramble on because of its powertrain design. Well-being is the 2020 Insight's best stayed discreet. Notwithstanding excellent scores from crash analyzers, the 2020 Honda Insight makes dynamic security highlights standard and outward vision is great. Analyzers from the IIHS gave the Insight a top safety pick plus grant in each arrangement. That is generally uncommon on the grounds that numerous automakers don't package expensive headlights in base models. The IIHS likewise appraised its programmed crisis-stopping mechanism as relevant and noticed that the Insight kept away from forward accidents at 12 and 25 miles per hour. Government analyzers gave the Insight 5 stars no matter how you look at it, incorporating 5 stars in each subtest, another relative irregularity. Each Insight is outfitted with standard programmed crisis braking, versatile voyage control, and traffic sign acknowledgement. Knowledge X and Touring variants include dynamic path control. The base 2020 Insight is a workhorse extraordinary, modest to run and modest to purchase. Everything else is better prepared, however they're all great qualities. It's a 6 for that worth, However, the 2020 Insight misses more focuses for highlights left off the passage form. This year, Honda offers the Insight in LX, X, and Touring bundles. The 2020 Insight LX costs under $24,000 and incorporates 16-inch wheels, LED headlights, a 5.0-inch chauffeur sound, Bluetooth network, one USB charger, material duds inside, and dynamic security includes that we spread previously. We'll avoid a head to the Insight Touring that includes a 8.0-inch touchscreen for infotainment with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto similarity, 2 USB ports, dynamic path control, a split collapsing back seat, and upgraded radio with more speakers. Understanding X vehicles cost about $25,000. At the top are Insight Touring variants that pylon roof, a moonroof, 17-inch wheels, and calfskin upholstery. Before you go, Touring adaptations rate lower on the EPA scale. Honda Insight Infotainment. Honda's local infotainment framework is basic and direct, with simple-to-pursue menus and a bunch of adjustable highlights. It's not as garish as certain contenders, yet it works similarly too, if worse. A bar over the highest point of the touchscreen shows as often as possible utilized tabs, telephone, source, time, and what's playing. The hard fastens at the edge offer speedy keys to the home screen, splendor, track determination, volume control, and a back catch. At the point when associated, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto run easily with little slack. We haven't tried the base 5.0-inch show on the Insight yet. At 52 miles per gallon consolidated, very few autos are more eco-friendly than the 2020 Honda Insight. Those that are progressively effective commonly accompanied an attachment. The EPA rates the 2020 Insight at 55 miles per gallon city, 49 roadway, 52 consolidated,